Please welcome our messenger.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Gilbert. I'm grateful, as we are all grateful, for your vision, your leadership, and your personal striving and sacrifice to help the Ascended Masters globalize our church, to help the Ascended Masters place their reference point, their chakras over each and every one of us who are gathered here and throughout the earth. Now is the time for us, all of us, to become what we have articulated in our vision statement. We are a loving, worldwide spiritual community. Isn't that a most wonderful name and a most wonderful goal? Let us hold this vision today and always, because our vision is what we shall become and who we are. Before our dictations today, I wanted to say a few words about what's ahead in the next 7 days. We have gathered here in San Diego to celebrate family as the keystone for community building. For all of us, family is a key component of the bridges we are building to our future, the future of our homes and countries, and the future of planet Earth. Some of our members were not sure they wanted to attend a conference on family. While you are here, I want you to think about family, what it means to you and to your loved ones, and how important family is in your life. I was talking with a woman who is connected to this center, and she was telling me that all of her children had gone their separate ways. She really didn't have a family anymore because children grow up, they become teens, they get into their 20s, they're out here, they're out there. That's a very sad thing, and yet it's happening all over our country and all over the world. Let us think about it. Let us think of the many mothers and fathers who don't see their children after age 12 or 14, for one reason or another, some of them, of course, getting into drugs. We are not in this alone. There are many families, many kinds of families. Your immediate family, close friends who become part of the family, and the inner family archetype aspects of your psychology. We also enjoy our spiritual family with the Ascended Masters, the angels and the precious elementals. What would we do without them, and what would they do with us? As bodhisattvas, we all need to see ourselves as father, mother, sister, and brother to everyone on earth. But who are we and where are we in the midst of all of this? By the end of the conference, I hope you will understand the many roles you play in family, whether you are married or single. We are seeking order and patterns of order to harmonize our lives and the lives of our families. These are spiritual patterns, etheric patterns, hologram blueprints, if you will. And the only way we can uncover and follow these patterns is through developing the intuition of the heart and the soul. The heart and the soul will always speak to us, always tell us where we should be, how we should contact someone who needs us right now but is living somewhere on the other half of the world. This is how we can tune into them and allow them to guide our lives into true happiness and fulfillment. Let us enter this process by holding in our hearts and souls a thought form for this conference. This thought form comes from the teaching of our very special master, Lord Confucius. It is a formula you can use for your personal transformation and the transformation of your family and our community. Lord Confucius gave us this basic formula for family and community building 2,500 years ago. It worked then, it can work today, but we have to work it. It is well known that Confucius knew the importance of family. This teaching is taken from the first chapter of The Great Learning. The Great Learning is one of the 4 books of Confucian teaching. This is the formula in Confucius' words. The ancients who wanted to manifest enlightened virtue in their empire first healed and brought order to their states. Wanting to heal and bring order to their states, they first established equanimity in their families and made them whole. Wanting to establish equanimity in their families and make them whole, they first cultivated themselves. Wanting to cultivate themselves, they first got themselves in line and in tune with their hearts. Wanting to be in line and in tune with their hearts, they first became honest with themselves and purified their motives. Wanting to be honest with themselves and purify their motives, they first assimilated wisdom and put it into practice. They assimilated wisdom and put it into practice by investigating and reflecting upon all phenomena and culling out what was true. End of quote by Confucius. So as you attend the workshops, services, and the fun events during this conference, please hold in your hearts and souls this thought form for your transformation, your alchemy, the transformation of your family, and the transformation of our community. The Ascended Master Confucius has a profound understanding of family as the vital unit for building community and a new society in the Aquarian age. All of us are looking forward to entering that age and what it will bring through our causal bodies, through all of the past, and the golden age of the future. He is the hierarch of the Royal Teton Retreat, which is congruent with the Grand Teton in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. This is a key retreat of illumination for the Great White Brotherhood in North America. His presence and the presence of his causal body in the United States has inspired the practical side of our culture. Let us see Confucius then as the architect of community building and the champion of families. Confucius shows us how to take the etheric patterns and use them in tangible ways to improve our everyday lives. These are patterns of self-reliance in God, of the sacred family, and of God government. We tie into the etheric patterns and precipitate the etheric ideals through beauty, harmony, and order in the physical octave. This is why the flame of precipitation is the main focus of Confucius Royal Teton Retreat. This flame is Chinese green in color, tinged with gold, and it burns on the main altar of the retreat. Confucius wants us to regard him as our loving and supportive grandfather, and like a grandfather, he also desires to pass on his dreams to us that we might fulfill them in his name. He longs to build a society on the foundation of love, wisdom, and the will of God, in the individual and in the family. Confucius has said that many souls from ancient China have re-embodied here in the United States. He told us, these are the quiet Buddhic souls, the diligent ones who have a spiritual mission to lay the foundation for the family in America and beyond. They understand the importance of basic loyalty in the family, the code of ethics, the gentleness, the sweetness, and the desire for learning as the means to God awareness. They have come that their wisdom would be fired with freedom, and that they might assist America as we enter the 21st century. They come to turn around a false materialism and to manifest instead an etherealization, a spirituality, and the mastery of self, of society, and of the energies of time and space. End of quote. Perhaps you are one of these souls who have come from ancient China, and that is why you are here at this very conference. So let us call to Confucius for his mantle and guidance, and let us pray that we may commune with him at his Royal Teton retreat as we discover the true meaning of family during this conference. Let us meditate again on Confucius' formula. The ancients who wanted to manifest enlightened virtue in their empire first healed and brought order to their states. Wanting to heal and bring order to their states, they first established equanimity in their families and made them whole. Wanting to establish equanimity in their families and make them whole, they first cultivated themselves. Wanting to cultivate themselves, they first got themselves in line and in tune with their hearts. That attunement with our hearts is the all and the everything of who we are. Wanting to be in line and in tune with their hearts, they first became honest with themselves and purified their motives. Wanting to be honest with themselves and purify their motives, they first assimilated wisdom and put it into practice. They assimilated wisdom and put it into practice by investigating and reflecting upon all phenomena and culling out what was true. End of quote by Confucius. I will be giving you more teaching on Confucius' formula for community building on Wednesday afternoon. At this time, let us prepare for the dictations from beloved Saint Germain, Archangel Zadkiel, and Holy Amethyst. I am your Saint Germain, and I am in the heart of each and every one who has gathered here this day and throughout the nations. O my beloved, how grateful we are for the acceleration of your dynamic decrees to the violet flame. Therefore, hear the applause of the Darjeeling Council on your behalf. I dare say, beloved, that the farthest corners of the earth have received the violet flame that you have sent forth. And soon we shall be able to recognize that you have manifested in your beings and in your planetary home that action of the violet flame that may one day saturate and saturate and saturate Earth herself, that there be no more war, no more illness, no more disease and death, no more crying, but only the victory of mighty victory and legions of light beyond and beyond. This is our goal for you, beloved, that there should be war no more in the earth, no more war in your members or the planetary body. You are moving toward that, beloved. May you attain it in this life so that those who come after you need not take a backward step. Now, beloved ones, won't you be seated? As the hours turn, the days move forward, the clock itself announces the millennium. Oh, beloved, realize what you can give to the hosts of the Lord with a violet flame. So you have greatly begun. So move on and continue to move on. Beloved hearts, begin to make lists of situations in the earth that must be dealt with, especially those of the children, the youth, the homeless, those who are on drugs, those who will not go back, for they have taken that much of that substance abuse. Understand, beloved, then, that there is mercurial speed that is required by the lords of karma, that these actions of the sacred fire might be consumed. Thus, beloved, time is the factor here. Time is indeed the factor. Some may say, well, nothing has happened, when in reality it will have happened. So, beloved, understand that bringing the violet flame to planet Earth is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, gifts you can ever give to the lords of karma. And therefore we ask that you come back day after day till this conference is completed, that you might deliver to the world that violet flame, that they might capture that violet flame, that they might understand that this is the day and the hour and the moment of eternity, of time, of space, when all might find their place and then move on. I tell you, it is clear, and it comes from the heart of Portia. For this to take place, beloved, many must turn toward the light and never look back again. Turn to the light, beloved. This is your supreme resource. This is the overflowing of that tide of light. When it is taken, so you move on. Let the children of the world, let the children of each and every nation, and especially those who have been God-taught by superior teachers, east and west, Let them be at the forefront of their nations. Let them grow and let them have that access to knowledge. The rapidity of the movement of all that is coming through technology is almost beyond the ken of millions of people who have not yet understood what is truly happening in the earth. And yet there is an underside of this earth. It is a dark side, and that dark side is the dark side that has never been challenged or bound or removed from the planet. It must go into the flame ere we enter the age of Aquarius and find ourselves taking that substance of darkness from the old to the new. Realize this, beloved, and know what you can do for this effort. Know it, beloved, for in the sounding of the bell, let it not be a bell that is the toll for those who are not able to move on, for they have not balanced karma, for they have not understood the balancing of karma, for they have had many eras in which they have gone to the left side and not to the right. Let them be God-taught. Let the power of your mighty I Am presence descend right in the very center of your own heart flame, in the very center of your holy Christ self. In this moment, as I speak to you as your beloved Saint Germain, I am telling you that this light can descend into your temple now, and this light, as the violet flame, can turn the world about. Let it be done, beloved, else we shall find not a few, but a many who are not able to move forward, not able to move forward in the direction of their soul's victory. Therefore, let the violet pink, let the action of these purple flames descend upon you now, and may there be such an intensity of God realization within you that you might move forward and go forth into a golden age where you may count for millions and millions of people because you have understood from the beginning. Now I shall speak to you again. At this moment, however, let us sound our voices for beloved Portia. Let us sound our voices for all of those who have been a part of our victory. Let that victory be nigh, beloved. Let it be nigh, and let it be for the overturning of darkness. This we decree. This we mandate, and this we bring forth, an intensity of sacred fire of the violet flame, multiplied many times over by the delivery of your services. To one, to all, to those throughout the world, I commend you, for you have captivated a light that shall not fail, that shall be with you and with all those who must make their ascension in this life. Beloved hearts, I shall speak to you again on that subject of your own ascension. Now in this moment, I seal you in the fires of mighty victory and in this day of the 4th of July. You should be seated. I am Archangel Zadkiel, one with Arcturus and Victoria, one with the legions of light of the 7th ray. I come forth in the pronouncement of divine justice. I come forth and my legions are with me, and we have untold numbers, and we move this way and that way and around the world for the purging of darkness and the raising up of the light. We would raise up the light of the youth of the world. We would raise up the light and purge the planetary body of darkness. We would transverse these continents that you might understand that there is a day and a date when the Godhead does speak to you and say, O my beloved, the hours are coming and shall be when I shall call you home. Therefore come, and come quickly, that you might send forth the full flowering of your mighty I Am presence, the rings upon rings that you have garnered together, that you have placed in that mighty coil of sacred fire. This is the meaning of victory. This is the work of the archangels on behalf of Saint Germain. And Elohim are with us, for we are always with Elohim as they multiply again and again and again. Thus we who are archangels know where our legions are, where those who serve us are at every point on planet Earth. We therefore are determined that some individuals who are not of the light shall be permanently removed from the earth, and others may be also removed, and yet there might be a far greater burden upon the angels. Understand this, beloved. It is certainly a challenge. Yet there are some of you who have served Saint Germain, who have been a part of those who have worked and worked and worked to bring about the binding of the fallen angels. This you can do while you are in embodiment, and there are such souls in this auditorium this day and throughout the world. So remember, beloved hearts, it is the action of the violet flame, it is the action of Saint Germain, it is the action of the victory of the God flame that allows you to go one-pointedly into the very heart and soul and mind of your being. Understand this, beloved, and know that the billions of souls who are upon this planet must be dealt with one way or the other. Some must be raised up, for they have a divine mission and a determination. Others come, beloved, and they do not understand what is the meaning of the path. They do not understand the meaning of karma or reincarnation. Thus Elohim come also to bring them into levels of understanding. Fear not then, for the archangel of the Lord is with you. And when you call upon the archangel of the Lord, and that angel does respond, you have the protection, you have the victory, you have the goal and the goal-fittedness. You are about your Father's business. Yes, I have said it. You are about your Father's business. Continue with it, for the Father, Mother, God, and Elohim desire to see those of you who have completed your rounds on planet Earth to go back to where you have come from, that you might bring to the children of the sun, to those souls of light who have come with the Ancient of Days, that they might now move on. Yes, beloved, I am Zadkiel, we are holy Amethyst, and we know that you can graduate from this schoolroom. The question is, will you turn around again and again and desire to go back in other ways? I trust not, beloved, for in these days and hours it is important that many rise to the level of the ascension, and it is also important that many of you remain. Thus, seek your hearts, search within, and know what is the goal of your life. For that life that you give to others is a life that can be amplified by the power of the great central sun magnet. Know this, beloved. Some of you are aware that you will make your ascension, but others think that you are not worthy. We come to tell you that you are worthy, and the worthiness that you seek all comes from the violet flame and the servants of the violet flame. Now in this moment, meditate. Where would you be in the coming decades? Where do you desire to be? You may desire to remain on the earth and move on. You may desire to stay with the fallen ones for the binding of their consciousness. This is the turning point that we see, and Elohim are behind you every step of the way. Now may you give your statements as you place on your right hand all that you would give to God, all that you would ask of Him in His caring for you, in His leading you, in His directing you. Let this be that victorious moment as you speak one-on-one to your God. In addition, I recommend that your focus be upon the children and the children of the world and those who have been harmed and aborted. O legions of the great central sun, Alpha and Omega, Helios and Vesta, pass through this place. Let the victory of the God flame and the victory of mighty victory be upon you. Call and call again and call again. For that golden victorious light mingles with a violet flame. It is the victory of God within you. Now call to God again in fervor and determine that all that moves against you shall be cast into the violet flame. And in the violet flame, and only the violet flame, you shall know the fullness of understanding, that you might move on in the cycles of your own being. Thus, in this moment of China, of Japan, of all nations of the earth, the Lord God Himself has set the seal and let fall upon the nations of the earth who do not fulfill the laws of God. So let it descend, and let the power of God descend. Let the wisdom of God descend, the love of God descend. And may you walk and talk with God, as did Enoch, as did Elijah, as did all of the prophets. So let it be done, let it be sealed, and let the action of the violet flame in all of these rippling effects of the violet, purple, pink be an awareness unto you, that through the violet flame you shall know your God victory. Now, beloved, we of the Darjeeling Council, of the Lords of Karma, and of the Solar Logoi, we speak to you and we say, may all that you do from this time forward and from this day unto your ascension be for the healing of the planet and the healing of souls. And where God calls you to move with the archangels, then so do it. And move with Him, that you might purge the earth of that darkness that could come upon it if there are not those who tend the garden of God. Now it is your turn to speak to God in joy, in victory, in understanding, and to know how you can undo the darkness that has covered the land. And also, beloved, ponder why the fires are blazing, why conditions are what they are in the earth. It is, of course, karma. But why is it karma? So ponder this and do this aloud as you again place your right hand over your right knee. And appeal to El Moria and the Darjeeling Council for the reversal of darkness, the darkness of the earth that is destined to become the light because you, the Chelas of El Moria, have so determined it. You may give your calls out loud with intensity. Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and the Divine Mother. We invoke the power of Omega. We invoke the power of Alpha. Come now into the earth and purge to the very core all that is less than the energy of the ruby ray of the great central sun. For this we call, and in the name of God, let it be manifest. Let us sing together the battle hymn of the Republic. Please stand.
Song 687.
He has loosed the faithful lightning on
This is a day about our youth, our children, our inner souls of our being. This is a day when we reach for the stars and pull them down and say, we will not let go until we have transformed our nation, our planetary home, and worlds beyond. We are very grateful that Guy and Edna Ballard brought to us for safekeeping wondrous teachings on the path of their ascension, which is becoming our ascensions. What I'm about to deliver to you is a biography of Rex and Nada and Bob and Pearl. As I went through this material, I realized that it is far more profound than I realized in the beginning. So now I'm going to begin on this subject because I think it is important for each one of us. And I would like you to look at what I'm giving to you as being expressly for you personally, within your heart chakra, within all of your chakras, as though Saint Germain was coming to you, standing before you in this very moment and saying, I have teachings to give to you that will raise you up and bring you to the place where you can have your victory in this life. Not all of us are here for our victory today. We would all have that victory, and if we would have it, we know that we have to accelerate our violet flame, that we have to accelerate God consciousness within ourselves and accelerate the momentums of the Elohim of God, the archangels, and the Chohans of the rays. So as I am going through these teachings, please take notes, because I think you should, because this is a very thick body of material. I'm not going to let you go until we've gone through this, because it gives us the clues to our victory all the way down to the present and various individuals who have been a part of the victory of our church. So without further ado, I will give you these teachings. Rex and Nada Rayborn were brother and sister, as were Bob and Pearl Singleton. They were the youth whom Saint Germain sponsored in the early 1930s. I know many of you who are seated here today have known the 30s and the 40s and the 50s and so forth. Rex and Pearl were twin flames, as were Bob and Nada. Twin flames are souls whom God created as two halves of a divine whole. We look to these four youths as examples on the spiritual path, all the way to our eternal reunion with God in the ritual of the Ascension. As I look at these teachings, I say to myself that I must go back to the ranch or to any other places in the United States and elsewhere to bring the teachings of the Ascension, to help you to accelerate that path to your ascension, and to not allow anything to deter you from your victory. No matter what the pain, no matter what the cost, remember that you are here on planet Earth to have your victory. So I'm asking you and telling you today to claim that victory and move on. Rex and Nada and Bob and Pearl had developed extraordinary devotion to their mighty I Am presence. The wording extraordinary should be kept in our hearts, the extraordinary devotion to their mighty I Am presence. And because they gave such intense devotion to their mighty I Am presence, they allowed the human conditions and all that is not worth talking about to be placed into the flame of the sacred fire. This we must do also. Saint Germain personally took Rex and Nada and Bob and Pearl under his wing and led them through a series of experiences that showed them just how magical life can be, here and now. Walking hand in hand with your I Am presence and the ascended masters is like having a Merlin at your side who is eager to help you move closer to God every day. In his book, The Magic Presence, the Ascended Master Godfrey tells the story of the 4 children, as they are often called. As I share with you some of their adventures with Saint Germain, see if you can glimpse your own magic presence smiling over you. Look up now and then from your notes to the great spheres within spheres that you see upon the I Am Presence. God wants you to have a very close relationship with your own real self, just like these teenagers did. One morning, Godfrey received a message from Saint Germain with a letter of introduction to a Mr. Daniel Rayborn in Denver. When Godfrey went to Denver, he ran into his old friend, Alexander Gaylord, accompanied by an elderly gentleman who was none other than Mr. Rayborn. They had dinner together that evening, and the next day, all 3 traveled to Daniel Rayborn's Diamond K Ranch in Wyoming. Godfrey wrote, "My impression of Rayborn was very pleasant, for his whole attitude was one of harmony and kindliness, and at the same time, I felt that he was a man of strong character with a keen sense of honor. Already we are coming to understand that in order to make our ascension in this life, there must be the presence of honor, of strong character, of going after those who are the poor and the helpless and bringing them to the place where they too might find the Divine Mother." At the ranch, Godfrey and Gaylord met Rayborn's 2 children. Godfrey described the 18-year-old Rex as a tall, splendid, good-looking young chap with the same classic features as his father, whom he resembled strongly. He was at least 6 feet 1 inch in height, with abundant light brown wavy hair and piercing violet blue eyes. Godfrey says, Rayborn's 16-year-old daughter, Nada, was strikingly beautiful and graceful. She was about 5 feet 7 inches tall and slight of build. She had hair like her brother's and deep blue eyes. There was a charm about all 3 Rayborns that everyone felt immediately. At dinner that evening, Rayborn left to do some work, so Nada and Rex entertained Godfrey and Gaylord with their musical talent. Both had remarkable voices, which they had inherited from their mother, who had been a prima donna in the opera until her sudden passing 2 years before. Their mother had also been sponsored by Saint Germain, having made her ascension at the close of that life. The next day, Rex and Nada wanted to show Godfrey a certain cave they knew about at Table Mountain. They rode on horseback until they reached the cave, and then Rex led the way inside on foot. Godfrey says, about 50 feet from the opening was a medium-sized cavern. The entire ceiling was covered with a pink and white crystalline substance. Next was an immense vaulted chamber at least 200 feet across. The ceiling was covered with rainbow-colored stalactites and geometric forms. There were crosses, circles, crosses within circles, triangles, and many ancient occult symbols. Godfrey said, "This is the work of a mighty intelligence from ages past, and I feel that these arches are entrances to other chambers or passages beyond." The 3 then returned to the ranch. After dinner, Daniel Rayborn met with them in the library and said that Saint Germain had appeared to him and given him considerable instruction on the I Am Presence and the Ascension. Saint Germain had told Rayborn that he was to ascend in the near future, and that Godfrey was to act as elder brother to Rex and Nada after their father's passing. Rayborn invited the group to accompany him to his mine in Colorado. There, the new superintendent, Bob Singleton, toured the mine with them. During the tour, Saint Germain pointed out to Godfrey the location of a very rich deposit of ore. Godfrey marked it so it could be excavated later. It proved to be an enormously rich strike, which Rayborn named the Master Discovery. Rayborn decided to take Bob Singleton into the financial partnership because he considered him trustworthy, honest, and able. Bob joined the group for dinner each evening and was deeply grateful for their acceptance of him. His new wealth allowed him to provide for his sister Pearl, who soon came to visit him. Bob and his sister loved each other deeply. Pearl hit it off with the group immediately. Godfrey says, "She was about 18 and had tremendous strength of character with a natural sense of poise and command." When the group returned to the ranch in Wyoming, Pearl came with them. There, Godfrey, Nada, Pearl, and Rex went to a mountain lake. Pearl went for a walk while the others rested on the bank. They had been there for almost an hour when Godfrey sensed that Pearl might be in danger. He and Rex hurried to find her and discovered that a rattlesnake was poised to attack her. Rex quickly dispatched the rattlesnake with a lasso. Pearl was not frightened in the least by her experience. She said, "I came upon that snake unexpectedly, but I knew it could not harm me so long as I kept my eyes on its eyes. Somehow I knew you would come." By that time, Nada had caught up to them, and they explained what had happened. Turning to Pearl, Nada said, "You certainly have wonderful courage and poise." Pearl looked at her with a peculiar expression. "Nada, my dear," she replied, "you know the great master would not allow any of us to be harmed." "What master?" asked Godfrey. Pearl looked at him steadily for a moment and remarked, "What a foolish question. The same master each of you know." Nada threw her arms around Pearl's neck and exclaimed, "God bless you, my dear. How did you know him?" Pearl explained that Saint Germain had appeared to her when she was 10 years old, after the passing of her mother, and he had been instructing her ever since. He had forbade her to tell anyone, even her brother. In a dictation given April 16, 1937, Pearl explained the whole process by which Saint Germain had come to her. She said, "Saint Germain came to me in San Francisco, where I lived with an aunt and where Bob and I had been very happy. Then Bob went forth, and I thought I was left quite alone. One day Saint Germain came, when my heart was reaching out so earnestly for love and happiness, because my dear old precious aunt did not know how to give out love and kindness. However, in my great call to God, one night I suddenly awakened. I was just a little girl, and there my room was filled with a soft golden light. In the concentrated part of the light, I saw this radiant presence, and lo, it was Saint Germain. The curious thing about it was, I was not frightened. I just felt within me that it was the answer to my call, and surely it was." On another occasion, Pearl went to Table Mountain with Rex, Nada, and Godfrey. As Pearl later recounted, "I felt impelled to go away a short distance by myself, and there before me was this great, majestic being, the god Tabor. As he talked to me, I realized, just through a mighty flash of feeling, that we were all being directed by a mighty intelligence, clothed in a dazzling form of light. I want to tell you that Cyclopeia, Arcturus, the god Meru, the god Tabor, and the god Himalaya are beings who, the first time one sees them, seem almost terrifying in their majesty, their beauty, the intensity of their light, and the perfection which they are. Yet with all that great and wondrous power, they are as gentle as a mother with her child, whom she loves more than anything in the world. When it is necessary, like a flash of lightning, their limitless power, which is to perform a given service, can be released." 3 days later, Rex, Nada, Pearl, and Godfrey visited the Cave of Symbols again. There, Saint Germain showed them inventions and other devices that would be brought forth for mankind's use in future ages. He also showed them the atomic accelerator, a device that he described as a mechanical way of quickening the atomic vibration of the human body and assisting to raise it into the pure electronic body which Jesus referred to as the seamless robe or the bridal garment of the Spirit. Saint Germain said that this device had been used on Atlantis, although it was less perfect at the time. Rex and Nada entertained the group with their music on a perfected piano that did not sound like any earthly piano. They returned to the crystal chamber, and Saint Germain had them focus their attention upon Bob Singleton and to request him to come to them. Almost instantly, a soft rose-colored light enveloped all, accompanied by a most delicate fragrance of roses. In a few moments, a beautiful blue formed around the rose-colored circle. This was followed by a radiance of gold around the blue. Then they heard a sound like the swish of wings, and Bob Singleton now stood upon the table before them, accompanied by two radiant masters. Saint Germain arose and extended his hand to Bob as he stepped lightly from the table. They all rose to their feet. Nada looked steadily at him for an instant as the rest were about to offer their greetings. Then Bob put his arms around Nada and held her close to his heart. "My precious love," he said, "I have always seen you in my dreams. When you came to the mine, I knew you as my angel love. But you seemed so far from me, I did not even dare to hope. Now to hold you in my arms is the most divine thing I know." Although Bob was the last in the group to learn of Saint Germain, his speed of attainment exceeded anything any of them had accomplished. This was because Bob joyously accepted everything which Saint Germain asked him to do. That's a very important point in this lecture. This was because Bob joyously accepted everything which Saint Germain asked him to do. It's a good idea to write down in your notebook how many times you've had some kind of a notion or an awareness and you don't act on it. And the entire cycle may go by for hours, months, years, whatever, because we're not listening. We're not listening. So the following evening, the group was called to dinner in the crystal chamber. After the meal, Saint Germain invited everyone to the electrical laboratory. He directed each one to take his turn in the atomic accelerator. After each one took his turn, Saint Germain invited them to return to the crystal chamber, where he showed them a polished surface about 12 feet by 20 feet. Saint Germain explained that this was a cosmic mirror in which those who had reached a certain height of attainment could see all their past lives. This is something you want to attain to and look for through your Holy Christ self and your mighty I Am presence. This is not something you should be looking for in psychic measures, in psychic manifestation. What we do need to do is to purify our four lower bodies so that at any time of the day or night, we are able to tune into the highest vibrating energies that can be around us that we can magnetize to ourselves. When we do it the opposite way and we go to lower levels, like palmistry and all this kinds of nonsense, then we are pulling ourselves down and we are losing ground. So be careful about whom you are teaching or whom you are with. So they could also observe the unfoldment of their spiritual mastery. In the cosmic mirror, you could also see the divine plan of your future and understand how to cooperate with it. This is a tremendous gift that Saint Germain is only waiting for you to receive. You have to ask and know that God will give you what you need. You have to believe that when Saint Germain says he's going to give you the reflection of yourself, for instance, in the cosmic mirror, you can't deny that it is true. You have to affirm it with Saint Germain, with his causal body, with his great heart flame. You could see how to consciously expand the love, light, wisdom, and power of the mighty I Am Presence through yourself. And we're talking about the cosmic mirror. Saint Germain then revealed the past lives of Daniel Rayborn, Pearl, Rex, Nada, and Godfrey on the cosmic mirror. Following this experience, Saint Germain sent a message to Daniel Rayborn that he wished to dine with the group and that he would provide the meal from the universal substance. You should be looking forward to that, right? The magic presence contains a fascinating description of the meal, complete with linen and table service, which Saint Germain presented as a gift to Pearl and Rex. He also precipitated diamond rings for Bob and Rex, a pearl necklace for Pearl, and a diamond necklace for Nada. The group returned to Rayborn's ranch the following day. There, Saint Germain instructed them to be seated and to place their attention on their hearts and the light of the mighty I Am Presence. Why don't you take now your right hand and place it right at the point of the center of your heart and see that movement of the heart of Saint Germain, of the heart of your mighty I Am Presence and your Holy Christ self, and hold that point there. When they opened their eyes, they could see and hear within the realm of the ascended masters, and each one clearly saw his own mighty I Am Presence. Would we all not desire to have such a oneness with our beloved Saint Germain? Godfrey wrote, "The opportunity to see, even for a few moments, our own electronic body is a blessing and privilege that cannot be overestimated, for it gives us strength and encouragement, drawing us like a magnet until at last we enter the Holy of Holies and become one with the source from which we sprang. When a Chela on the path sees the mighty I Am Presence, he has made a definite step on the way to the ascension." Write that down right now. You don't want to lose that concept. When a Chela on the path sees the mighty I Am Presence, he has made a definite step on the way to the ascension. It is an initiation that we should seek with all of our hearts and souls and beings. What this is telling us is that we must be the doers. If we need the elixir of life, we must pour that elixir into vessels, into the vessels of our chakras, into the vessels of our beings. God does not do it all for us, but he pushes us a little bit and a little bit. And if we stray and we go the wrong way, then Saint Germain or El Moria comes by and says, you're going the wrong way right now. Get back on track. We should meditate whenever possible on the I Am Presence when doing our decrees or when singing our songs. For through meditation and devotion to our I Am Presence, we can magnetize it nearer to us. I want you to believe this. I want you to hold a focus on this. I want you to know that it is true. I want you to know that at this very moment, your Holy Christ self empowers you, places his presence over you, and that you are living in that God presence of your Holy Christ self every moment of every day. Let us meditate on our I Am Presence as we give the decree, Decree 10:11, I am presence, thou art master. As we give this decree, let us see our I Am Presence as a bright, dazzling light above us, each one. Let us give it together. It is 10:11. I am presence, thou art master. I think we should stand in honor of our I Am Presence and our Holy Christ self, for they are the source of our being. Together, I am presence, thou art master, I am presence, clear the way. Let thy light and all thy power take possession here this hour. Charge of victory's mastery, blaze with lightning, blaze thy substance into this thy form descend. That perfection and its glory shall blaze forth and earth transcend. I am presence, thou art master, I am presence, clear the way. Let thy light and all thy power take possession here this hour. Charge of victory's mastery, blaze with lightning, blaze thy substance into this thy form descend. That perfection and its glory shall blaze forth and earth transcend. I am presence, thou art master, I am presence, clear the way. Let thy light and all thy power take possession here this hour. Charge of victory's mastery, blaze with lightning, blaze thy substance into this thy form descend. That perfection and its glory shall blaze forth and earth transcend. I am presence, thou art master, I am presence, clear the way. Let thy light and all thy power take possession near this hour. Charge of victory's mastery, blaze with lightning, blaze thy substance into this thy form descend. That perfection and its glory shall blaze forth and earth transcend. I am presence, thou art master, I am presence, clear the way. Let thy light and all thy power take possession near this hour. Charge of victory's mastery, blaze with lightning, blaze thy substance into this thy form descend. That perfection and its glory shall blaze forth and earth transcend. I am presence, thou art master, I am presence, clear the way. Let thy light and all thy power take possession near this hour. Charge of victory's mastery, blaze with lightning, blaze thy substance into this thy form descend. That perfection and its glory shall blaze forth and earth transcend. I am presence, thou art master, I am presence, clear the way. Let thy light and all thy power take possession near this hour. Charge of victory's mastery, blaze with lightning, blaze thy substance into this thy form descend. I am presence, thou art master, I am presence, clear the way. Let thy light and all thy power take possession near this hour. Charge of victory's mastery, blaze with lightning, blaze thy substance into this thy form descend. That perfection and its glory shall blaze forth and earth transcend. I am presence, thou art master, I am presence, clear the way. Let thy light and all thy power take possession near this hour. Charge of victory's mastery, blaze with lightning, blaze thy substance into this thy form descend. That perfection and its glory shall blaze forth and earth transcend. I am presence, thou art master, I am presence, clear the way. Let thy light and all thy power take possession near this hour. Charge of victory's mastery, blaze with lightning, blaze thy substance into this thy form descend. That perfection and its glory shall blaze forth and earth transcend. Thank you. Please be seated. Continuing on with our story, later that summer, Saint Germain met the group in the Far East. This is very interesting because before Mark Prophet took his leave of this world, he desired to go around the world. He didn't quite make it around the world, but he was in India. I was in India with him. I was in the Middle East with him, and various places. And wherever he went, he gave teaching. Wherever we might be, he would give that teaching. And it was a wonderful experience because he had so much to give us and so little time that was left. So when we think about this and we look at what I'm going to give you now, it shows step by step by step how these children were taught by Saint Germain and others. So if you look at this and you take notes, you'll realize that there is a sequence as whether it's the youth or those moving on, whereby we may attain that union with God and do so at a 51% level and above, and accelerating all the way to our victory. So this is how Saint Germain guided the various individuals that we now have a background of, that we now have an understanding of. This is where they went as they went on their journey, again taking their teachings from the masters. So, continuing on with our story, later that summer, Saint Germain met the group in the Far East. This is very, very interesting because right now we are very interested in the Far East, as Gilbert has told us, and we desire to make contact with light bearers of the Far East and others. They sailed from New York. At dinner the first night, they met Alexander Gaylord's twin flame, Leto. During the course of their voyage, Leto gave detailed instruction to the group on how to consciously engage in soul travel, the traveling of the soul. When they arrived in Europe, Leto led the travelers to her home in Paris. From there, they journeyed out of their bodies to an ascended master retreat in Arabia. After they returned, they stayed in Paris for a few days and then traveled to the same Arabian retreat in the physical. There they met Saint Germain, who took them on a tour of the retreat. He showed them chambers of art, music, and government, as well as rooms with wonderful inventions. The group was introduced to an international council of masters. An international council of masters. What does that tell us? It tells us that all the way back to Atlantis and Lemuria, there have been councils, those of light, those of darkness, those who are working for good, those who are working for bad. They are still on the planet. They are still determined to turn things tipsy and topsy and turned over. So let us realize that the earth is small and that we are actually very much capable of making attunement with this council of masters, even though they are in the etheric octave or even though they are in heights of glory. So at all levels of our beings, we have that ability. So I would like you to remind yourself daily that you have the ability to tune into beings and adepts that are higher than yourselves. And that's one of the important reasons we are here today. So the presiding master instructed them that they should go to India. And that is precisely where Mark Prophet took us. At least 50 of us or more he guided throughout India and gave us teachings every night. The presiding master instructed them that they should go to India for 10 months training and then return to the Arabian retreat to complete their instruction. When I think about Mark Prophet, I think about the fact that had he lived longer and had we stayed with him longer by his request, we might have had profound training and an acceleration. These students then went to Alexandria and stayed with an adept named Electra, who had worn her body for more than 100 years, yet looked not more than 20. Today, many people are looking to excel in the years that they have in this life and to move beyond even the age of 100. Maybe this very being, who seems to be a feminine being, is one that can teach us or teach others of how to use the electricity of the body to intensify and to bring longevity to the physical body. Soon afterwards, they left for India. When they docked in Bombay, they met the ascended master, Chananda. He instructed them to go to Calcutta for 2 days. During the train ride to Calcutta, he took each one individually out of his body and trained him in accurate observation. When they arrived in Calcutta, Chananda took them to a building secretly owned by the Great White Brotherhood. The Brotherhood was assembled on the 2nd floor in a council chamber. There they learned that Chananda was the head of the Indian Council of the Great White Brotherhood. In 2 days, they left for Darjeeling and traveled by pony high into the mountains. Mark and I and the group who went to Darjeeling also made that very long trip up the mountains, very steep mountains, and it's a very beautiful trip, but it's an arduous trip. They arrived at a beautiful home built on one of the hills surrounding the city. This was the home of the chief of the Darjeeling Council, who is none other than our beloved El Morya. Godfrey describes El Morya. He was a tall, handsome man with piercing dark eyes that seemed to look right through one. But when there was no intense feeling being expressed, they were as soft as those of a fawn. To our surprise, he did not wear a turban, but his soft, beautiful dark brown hair waved slightly and fell to his shoulders. He was very gracious and gave us a most loving welcome. A glorious peace clothed him and his surroundings, filling the entire place with his wonderful radiance. They dined with Almoria that evening and attended a meeting of the Darjeeling Council. At the meeting, Rex and Pearl helped expose a spy, and had him removed from the premises. Almoria thanked them, saying, "My sister and brother, you will be able to do splendid work for the mighty I Am Presence, the great white brotherhood and humanity, and I bless you for that service." The group next traveled to Benares, where they were to be guests of honor at a banquet with one of the oldest councils in India. Leto and Gaylord, as well as Electra, accompanied the group for the remainder of the journey. From Benares, Chananda took them to the Palace of Light, his magnificent home that was tucked away in a luscious valley in the Himalayas. He told them they were there for definite attunement and work, and during this time Godfrey was shown evidence of a very ancient civilization. One evening, Chananda told them to go to the great council chamber where Saint Germain and 200 ascended masters would meet them and the Rayborns. Chananda told all to enter into the deepest meditation they were capable of and to focus upon the mighty I Am Presence. After some time, they heard a magnificent voice and saw the great divine director standing before them. Godfrey writes, "This majestic being stood fully 6 feet 4 inches in height, with wavy hair that fell to his shoulders and looked like sunshine on gold. His robes glittered with points of light, like great jewels that flashed continually with a tremendous radiance of the power held under his control. The girdle encircling his waist was a mass of sapphires and diamonds, and from it hung a panel to a few inches below the knees. This also was a mass of jewels. That girdle is, of course, the great divine director's blue belt." Chananda stepped forward to sponsor the group in their further acceleration. The great divine director declared, "We shall give them bodies, such as have not been manifest before upon earth, that they may stand before the world a living example, revealing the fulfillment of the law of love and light. These shall be similar to the bodies of the ascended beings, yet they shall retain the appearance and some of the outer activities of the highest type of mankind." The great divine director instructed Chananda to take them to the Cave of Light for 2 days. The great divine director sent forth rays of dazzling light that consumed substance from their bodies and cleared their inner sight and hearing forever. Forever. In 2 days they emerged from the Cave of Light with bodies of immortal endurance. The great divine director, Saint Germain, and the Rayborns greeted them. The great divine director said to them all, "Now your true service will begin. You are now true messengers of the great white brotherhood." Chananda directed that Rex, Nada, Bob, and Pearl were to remain in the Cave of Light for 1 year. That is how the magic presence ends. We know from a later dictation that Rex and Nada, Bob, and Pearl made their physical ascensions. Until they ascended, they had bodies similar to ascended bodies, yet still capable of walking the earth. According to a longtime I Am student, it was announced that Rex, Bob, and Alexander Gaylord moved about the earth during World War II and performed such great feats as dissolving enemy planes and submarines. Members assumed that these were physical actions, but they actually took place on the astral plane in the type of clearance work that our messengers perform today. In a 1989 dictation, we learned something new about Rex with Nada, Bob, and Pearl. Nada, Bob, and Pearl were the 3 youths, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who went through the fiery trial in the furnace as related in the book of Daniel. Rex was also in the furnace as the form of the 4th, who is like the Son of God. Rex explained, Our bodies were prepared for many centuries for that initiation at inner levels and in embodiment. And therefore our physical bodies placed in that furnace remained untouched by the fire, nor was the smell of smoke found upon our garments. He said that because they successfully passed that initiation, they received accelerated physical bodies. The acceleration of those bodies remained with them in succeeding embodiments all the way to this very century. Rex said that that initiation in the fiery furnace was also the outplaying of their karma, for they had stoned Enoch. Enoch related this story in a dictation on July 2nd, 1967. Quote, "I recall on one occasion prior to my own reception into the Godhead, how a group of youngsters did see me in meditation in a grove. And as I knelt there in holy prayer, there stepped through in full view a magnificent angel, while these youngsters did durst to stone my flesh. And this was not recorded by men. They did stone my flesh, and I did fall upon the ground, and I did weep, and I did plead that their souls be purified from the stain. And 3 of these young men subsequently became God-identified and were the 3 Hebrew children within the fiery furnace at a later epoch in life. And thus my prayer was not in vain, for I was able to see the end from the beginning. And this is the divine quality that does not condemn man, for he understands that the man whom he condemneth may become a Christed one on the morrow, and he prays that may be done." After this episode, Enoch actually became the sponsor of Rex and Nada and Bob and Pearl. Rex tells us, "We received many initiations under Enoch's sponsorship until it came to the hour when we must undergo the fiery trial in the physical octave. We were given initiations to hold the light and the sacred fire breath in every cell and atom of our beings, so we would have no responsiveness to the physical flames. The balancing of the chakras and our immersion in the service of our God was our protection, and therefore our physical bodies placed in that furnace remained untouched by the fire, nor was the smell of smoke found upon our garments. Because we passed through that fiery trial and continued to embody as initiates of the Great White Brotherhood, we came to the hour in this century when we received the call of Saint Germain. He made known to us that because of these bodies that we sustained, we were prepared and we could be candidates for the physical ascension. And we 4 did indeed make the physical ascension. I would like to share a story with you as told by a longtime member of our church about Bob and Pearl. He says, "I was a ship's photographer docked in Rio de Janeiro. Since I had been looking for an amethyst ring, I went ashore to look for the best amethyst I could find. As I recall, this was about 1969 or 1970. I had gone ashore to meet a jeweler. I had found a ring that I liked, so I asked him to stay open long enough for me to run back to the ship and get $400 for the gemstone. As I was going to get the ring, I heard a voice saying, No, wait till exactly the same day and date next year, and you will find your ring." So I said to the jeweler, "I don't want the amethyst ring," and I gave him $50 not to get it. I went back on board ship and forgot about the amethyst ring. 1 year later, on the same date at the same time, I was in Australia. A bus came around the corner there at King's Crossing, a section of Sydney. I stepped back to avoid getting run over by the bus. As it went over the curb, the sun hit the back of the bus at just the right angle, flashing across the way to a jewelry store. The sun on the bus flashed on a purple ring in the window. So I went over to the jeweler and said, I'd like to see that ring. And he said, well, it's on consignment. You have to call this number and then they'll come and sell the ring to you. So I called the number and a very nice voice answered. She said, this is Pearl. My brother and I will come and meet you. She gave a place for the meeting in downtown Sydney. She said, well, we have to meet you first before we can sell you the ring. So I met the young girl in Sydney and she said, well, my brother will be here in a minute. This girl was wearing a white dress. It was longer than the ones the rest of the girls in Sydney wore. They had short dresses above the knee, but hers were below the knee, and it was so shiny. She had long blonde hair. She had a golden clip in her hair. She also had a golden clip on her dress that was like a belt. Later, I asked Lanello about that, and he said, well, that's a central sun. I never asked him why the clothes were so bright. Their clothes were just really shiny. She came over and sat down, and then her brother Bob came. He was all dressed in white. He was blonde and really handsome. They came over and they ordered tea. I noticed that Bob had an Adam's apple, but when he would drink the tea, the Adam's apple wouldn't go up and down, but the tea would disappear. He asked me various questions, including whether I believed in reincarnation. They said that the ring had come from Russia, and they showed it to me. It wasn't an amethyst, it was an alexandrite, which is a very expensive ring. I didn't know that at the time. On each side it had two plumes like Saint Germain's fleur-de-lis, and then the 9-pointed star of Venus in the center and the signs of Christ on the bottom. They asked me why I wanted it, so I told them the funny thing that happened to me in Rio, that I heard a voice saying I would get this ring. They asked me what religion I was, and I said I had just found a place, Summit Lighthouse. And Bob said, oh, that's interesting. That's a good thing. He said, do you know that I sponsor the children? Well, I didn't know what that meant at the time. Bob said to me, well, you have $150 in your pocket, but you need money to pay for the tea and so forth and the lunch, so we'll take $125 and sell you the ring. So I said, okay. So they handed me the ring, and I shook their hands, and they left. I noticed when I shook their hands that I felt a tremendous feeling of love and a great tingling feeling. I didn't know what it was. Then I went back to the ship, and I said to myself, you know, this ring's worth a lot more than $125, so I'm going to go back to the jewelry store and give them some more money. So I got a couple of $100 more and went back to the jewelry store. And I said, oh, did Bob and Pearl come in? They said, oh, yes. They gave us a commission of $125. Well, that's exactly what they had gotten from me. They didn't keep any of the money for themselves. So I said, gee, they didn't need the money or anything. I was going to give them $200 more. Do you have their telephone number? And the clerk said, no. After they told me they sold the ring, I threw away the phone number. Well, I had marked the number down on my hand, but when I called it, the telephone company said, oh, we're sorry, there's no such number in our phone book. So this is one of our longtime members who decided to give me this ring, and some short years after that, I did receive that ring, and then I did return it to a member of our community. So at that point, the last thing that I knew about this and that the member of our church knew was that I had briefly worn that ring, and I had also told the person in question that Bob and Pearl had come to me and said that they wanted him to wear the ring. And so it was this person's birthday, and I said, by all means, you should have this ring. And so up to this very day and date, this person still owns this ring that went through all of the circumvention of what I'm saying for everything to come in the right order. So I decided to tell you about the conclusion of this, of Rexanata, Bob, and Pearl, because everything we do and everything that we lay upon the altar of God does come back to us. And when we send tremendous light and love and energy to people, it multiplies their ability to be who they are in the Christ, in their cosmic presence, and in the victory of their ascension. So I hope you will go through these teachings and the I Am discourses and understand that real beings on earth in this century and prior centuries have contributed to the manifestation on earth of what we are looking at and looking for. And because we consider ourselves a part of the I Am movement, we also put our trust in everything that Saint Germain has said and all the things that I have discussed with you today. So I hope that you and your children will read these teachings now and then, and remember that karma is a matter of taking the light, taking the presence that is in our hearts, and sending such intensity to others throughout the earth that people everywhere can receive your love and move on and know that there is a God reality in you, and that God reality will never leave you, will never depart from you. And so I counsel you to move on, to intensify, to let go of everything that is less than the purity and perfection of your life. Thank you. Sons and daughters of Sanat Kumara, welcome to my heart. I deliver to you the understanding that must needs be. It is an acceleration that is called for the weight of the body of the earth does weigh down all who are driven toward their ascension. We count you among these, therefore the Darjeeling Council would speak to you, and to speak to you regarding those things that ought not to be, those things that must be. Now then, beloved, as you have heard again and many times over the teachings of unveiled mysteries, now come into alignment and realize that you can accomplish all things. Those who do not accomplish all things hold back, and because they hold back, they do not receive the crown of everlasting life. Therefore, in the name of El Moria, we salute thee and we say, it is time for the harvest. It is time for those who must come to new dimensions of reality. It is time to realize who you are and to know that you have within your being true qualifications for the victory in this life. I then speak to you of the condition of life, for life must blossom, and the currents of life must read, and you must read them. Now then, take your globe in hand and see that you have one. Look through the maps of nation by nation and come to an understanding where there is darkness, and a darkness that can be bound and consumed. This is the real goal, for too much darkness still hangs over the land. Let that darkness now be turned to light, for I am Saint Germain, and I come always to bring that powerful manifestation that brings alchemy to the ultimate. And that ultimate, beloved, is the manifestation of the very love of the Mahachohan. I come then to open wide your heart chakra, the secret chamber of the heart, the flame that lies within. I come because many of you must transcend the self and do so. Therefore, Elohim surround you now, and archangels, and many are gathered here on behalf of your children and the children of the entire world. Let this world be a place of the violet flame, and may you be exonerated in your service. Beloved Portia is gratified that you understand the urgency of her need to bring divine justice to every household upon earth. That divine justice, beloved, will bring all of the souls of the world, save those who move against my beloved Portia, will bring then those souls to that place whereby they might move forward. Then, beloved, what shall come to pass is this: the power of the Holy Spirit to destroy the fallen angels, the power of Almighty God to enter your very being and your very flesh. So it shall be, and so it shall come to pass, and you will know an era of darkness, yet that darkness will not last forever. But that darkness must come again until there is the consuming by the power of the Elohim of all that never should have been. These are the days when records of war must be cast into the fire, when records of suicide of drugs, of those things which have taken the children of the world out of the way. Know this, beloved, that Mother Mary has declared it, that the day of darkness will come upon you, and that the day of light shall shine as the noonday sun, and you will know that ultimately you will have passed those days that have gone on for thousands upon thousands of years. You are the candle, you are the ones that bring to the fore this victory. This victory must be won on every continent, everywhere upon the planet. This is the victory that you seek. By love and love alone through the Mahachohan, by the power of personal vindication, as you have vindicated even your very own being, your very own God presence. Recognize how much you can erase and how much of God can descend upon you. Remember then, remember what is true and holy, what is lawful, what must be made manifest. Hold on to these things and let go of all that is unreal. Let there be turning of worlds then. Let us see what will happen as this movement moves on for the turning of the worlds and the technology. This is one thing, but where there is an absence of God purity, of divine love, of that Holy Spirit, so the power of God is able to descend and challenge and bind the fallen ones. These are the moments when you must see beyond the moment and move on and on and on, day by day by day, as that transmutation flame does scour and purge and bring to the very knees those criminals that have moved throughout the nations. Blessed ones, much must be consumed, and that which is to be consumed is that which God has ordained. And if God foreordain it not, then do not be concerned. But if God does foreordain it, then move on and determine that every nation upon earth must ultimately know this realization. For without this realization, the golden age of Aquarius will not come. I say to you, it will not come, for I stand with my beloved Portia. I stand with you, and I stand with all of the light bearers of the world, and that darkness must go, and it must go in this century, for we need that 2,000-year period of the age of Aquarius, that you might move forward, that your children might move forward, and that all of the people of the world might know an enlightenment that has never been before. Now you have the implements. Going forth with those implements to take up the light, to take up the vigil, to take up that moment, that sacred moment when I unleash in your beings, in millions of souls of light, that very presence of the age of Aquarius. This you will come to know. You may come to know it before the turning of the clock, when the age of Aquarius descends, or you may know it beyond that. But beloved hearts, no matter what you put into the soil this day, so there will come forth a tremendous victory and preparation for these 2,000 years. May you know it, may you see it, and may the light of God be upon you. Every cosmic being, every ascended master is with you and behind you, and there to be your closest friend. Therefore, I say, do not compromise anything from the smallest to the greatest in your world, but climb those levels of consciousness that you might find yourselves in such a level of cosmic mastery that you might make those very changes that can turn the world around and the age of Aquarius. All things are possible unto you, and I give you the opportunity this day with Portia to tell you that the overturning of the worlds of darkness shall be for the opening of the doors of light. This shall come to pass, this shall be. Let the moments turn into years, and the years into victories, and the victories in the summation of the mountains white with snow. Let the power, the knowledge, the presence of that mountain Kilimanjaro be known to you as the sign of personal victory. Personal victory means simply this, that you and only you can have your victory. Call to me, and I shall send back to you the mighty signals from my heart that will bring you to the Comforter, the Holy Spirit. Elohim, archangels, and Chohans embrace you, and we send you the entire map, the map that comes from the Darjeeling Council of all that must be done prior to any manifestation of greater darkness in the earth. You have the power for transmutation. Use it. Every last one of you who sits in this court, every last one of you holds the power of precipitation, of transformation, and of my own alchemical mysteries. May you give back to me this day what I have given you, not only this day, but for tens of thousands of years. Rejoice, beloved, rejoice, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and the Divine Mother, Amen.